And we've had a fascinating series of conversations from architects to IAS officers and from tech giants to historians. It's been a fascinating journey by Charcha. And we're in the last edition today, and we're bringing this to close with yet another amazing guest that we have with us today, Naghma Mulla. Hello, Naghma. Welcome. And thank you. Thank you for accepting this invitation.
Thank you for having me here, Abhishek. Thank you.
So anybody from the social space would know Naghma, and the non-social space people would also know EdelGive Foundation has moved from just doing philanthropy to really a groundbreaking foundation, a philanthropic asset management platform. And Naghma has been able to bring together collaborations in the space, which is always tricky, which is always challenging. We're able to bring lots of different players together through EdelGive's work. She's worked across collaborations in education, migration, women, climate, capacity building. And apart from EdelGive, she also is on the board of famous organizations like RUNJ, India Climate Collaborative, One Future Collective, Social Lens. So a whole set of things from someone who's actually a chartered accountant. So looking forward to this conversation with you, Naghma. This is also a collaboration, actually, since we're talking about collaborations between Blue Ribbon Movement, Mumbai First and Mumbai Live. I shall share a bit more about Mumbai First and Blue Ribbon later, but Mumbai Live, thank you for taking us to so many of your subscribers. Mumbai Live shows you the latest and best of the Mumbai city. For a Mumbaikar, Mumbai Live is where you should tune in. So let's get started, Naghma, maybe with your relationship with Mumbai. Let's maybe you could start from the start. How's your relationship been to the city? What connects you to it?
My birth, my parents, my father in his childhood migrated with his father. So we are like I'm a third generation here, and so I was born and raised in Baikla. In a joint family setup with about 18 people in the same house, in a building which had 72 flats and probably 70 ethnicities or backgrounds. So, and a very, very eclectic, very multicultural, multi-dimensional, experience, which I think I was very, very lucky to have. That's what connects me. I think I have been all of 5 years out of this city, between Pune and Delhi, but came back. I don't think there's any other place in the world that I feel so much about as I do about here, for different reasons. But yes, it's a relationship by birth, and I think it will last all the way.
To be in a childhood with the various ethnicities and everyone coming together, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about Mumbai. There's so many different so many different ethnicities. I would say not nationalities yet. But curious, Nanda, how would you describe the spirit of Mumbai according to you? What's the spirit of the city?
Just a lot of times when we read about it, especially post a catastrophe, everybody is like Mumbai is very resilient, and this is a true Mumbaikar. And I feel that we use that word a little misplaced. I think it's actually a burden we carry, our resilience. What makes Mumbai is the people, is the fact that finally everybody is working for a better life, and is so focused on living for a better life that I think we also miss on a lot of other pleasures. I see this in other cities where, for example, on a weekend you would have people planning for weekends, like you'll go off. I've been in Delhi, I've been in Pune, I've been in other places on visits, and I feel people are more relaxed. Mumbai is fast, is furious, it's at it. I don't think it's ever asleep. And I think that for me is defining, and resilience is part of the deal. I mean, there is no option. People are so into living their life here that resilience comes with the package. So I don't put resilience at its core. I think everybody is really feisty, fiery, fast and furious here.
Right, to be fully, sorry, yes.
Now I can hear you.
Yeah, I was saying Mumbai is the agreement to show up and do well and do the best that we can. I think that, and you're saying resilience is a part of that kind of larger package, that larger agreement. But do you think Mumbaikars don't take it easy enough? Like, think we're too worked up? Is that your reading?
Yes. It's we are always going to some place and coming back from some place, moving towards a mission and finishing up some mission. I think it's a very driven city, and that is, I think, one of the reasons why people like me are spoiled. Even if I go to a relaxed place, it will, there's an edginess that comes after 2 days. We could, you have to do something. You feel like you're not doing enough. In Mumbai, we're all perpetually busy, which is our strength and also our biggest weakness. I think that we don't pause. We are so busy. I quoted this to someone else a couple of weeks ago, that we're so busy making money that we're not pausing to enjoy it. We're so busy working towards something that we are not pausing enough at all. So and it has its privileges and it has its drawbacks, and I think we live with it. Everybody is fairly aware of what they're doing.
I mean, what got me wondering about what you said, doing enough, and are we ever doing enough? And I just want to locate this question also in the social space, actually, already, because the social space, we always have this question: are we doing enough? What's your relationship with enoughness? What do you say? Do you feel you're doing enough, or do you like to do more for the city?
So I don't think we can ever do enough, because what is enough? Like you rightly said, there is no definition of it, right? You can be as enough as you want, but given, especially from a social sector context, the issues that we are talking about, the issues that we're observing, or the issues we're working towards, are perpetuated over centuries, and if we are lucky, over a couple of years. Otherwise, these are century old, perpetuated, also very concretized by acceptance through social acceptances. So we're fighting a mammoth, invisible set of variables. And so there is the epiphany came a long time ago, that it's so big that no one can finish it in their lifetime. Two, no one can do it alone. So there needs to be more of us coordinating with each other and saying, all right, and we also cannot erase any problem in entirety. So what for me is enough is, have we chosen our part of the solution that we would like to work on, or our part of the problem that we would like to, and are we doing enough to be able to sit back and say, yes, we've done a good job at this little bit. A systems change happens when enough of us come together and try to move a system. But if I'm a solo unit, I'd rather take one little sliver and say, all right, how do I improve it? So there is no enough. There is never going to be enough of work, or enough of us, or enough of efforts, or enough of money to solve this. There will just have to be a lot of us doing it again and again and again, so that these problems don't recur.
Working for me, intergenerational work, right? Work that has been going on and that goes on. And assuming our limitation of saying that, okay, in this lifetime or with whatever we have, and bringing the lens onto the city, because this is Mumbai Charcha, a lot needs to be done for Mumbai as well. But from your lens, would you be able to pick a few acupressure points, a few priority issues for the city, saying these are the levers, if we shift these, it'll ripple into something? What would those be?
There are, of course, like any big city, we have, and Mumbai being this high density city where everybody wants to be in, with a slum population that is almost 52%, and we do have those issues that large cities of such kinds have, which is poor housing, low wages, poor quality of water. That all of this will happen. But I think the one, if I have to choose that one thing that could probably change, could probably improve things, it is active citizenship. I think what Mumbai doesn't have is active citizenship, or not enough of it, because we have all of us busy going after our mandates, but are we caring enough for the city as a whole? And what I mean by it is beyond the compound I'm living in. Do I care that my street is unclean and the garbage is not picked out in time, or am I okay till the time I'm not being able to smell it in my house? I think what Mumbai could do with a lot more is active citizenship and a concern for civil society, for more of us, instead of just my family, my home. And that could change a lot of things. And that is also probably the number one worry I have. if you ask me, from this city.
Not enough active citizenship, or that we need to see more of this whole active citizenship, local action, and so on. And yeah, we also hope more of that happen. See, curious, Naghma, what's been your experience in corporates engaging in active citizenship and philanthropy related to active citizenship? When one goes to cities like New York, you see that the wealthy of those cities have funded a lot of the infrastructure and commons.
Yeah.
How do you see Mumbai, and do you see, what would you say about Mumbai in that way?
See, philanthropy, if you see in countries like the US, are much more matured, much more enabled through tax benefits also. So a lot of the good philanthropy from wealth is actually coming because it pays to be philanthropic. You know, you save a lot of tax through philanthropy. You're encouraged. The system makes it easy for you to give. In India and in Mumbai also, we have 2-3 things that happen. One is, I think India is a giving country. Dan is something, dan, zakat, charity is something that is not prescribed through modern rules. It's something that we've all ingrained through our life. But we give informally, we give to religious causes, we give to those who we know. So even in Mumbai, you will find a lot of homes that will give to poor families in their villages. That will give sporadically, and that will not give enough. I think we don't give enough, all of us, in terms of how much we should really be out there giving is less. Not just in Mumbai, overall in India, I think we give more towards religious and poor relations. But if we have to look at a city and look at improvement of city, improvement of infrastructure, there is much more that is possible if we all come together. That I think is and you asked about corporate engagement. We have to, I'm as someone who sits between foundation, corporates, who's also come from a much more humble background, and who's seeing a lot of the city evolve over the last 40 years. I've seen the city move, change its faces a lot. I think our expectation from corporate engagement also has to be a little reasonable. What is the role of a corporate or business in civil society? Its role is to do ethical business and to give employment and to pay taxes. That is, and that is what we have to hold them really accountable to. Are you doing ethical business? Are you paying your taxes on time? Are your employees being treated well? Charity is something, charity or philanthropy or civil engagement is something that should be a DNA in a corporate, because it pays to be good. Not because philanthropy or civil participation is a good thing to do because weekend is free. Philanthropy, I think, is if we, and I see that enough, corporate engagement cannot be a nice employee engagement piece only. It has to be something that makes the person aware. I'll tell you an example. We used to have in EdelGive a weekend where you could bring your families and we would take you for an immersion visit. That is what we would do. And a truck full of people would go to maybe Mukhara. And that one time in Mukhara, what we did, we would have one activity that would give them a vague, even if it's a vague sense of what it is like to be that person. So that one activity about 4 years ago was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the sun of Mukhara, they had to just sow some seeds for an hour. And for a corporate, regular, simple person sitting in the AC the entire day, 1 hour in the sun where you have to bend your back and sow some seeds is enough to generate empathy for a lifetime. Then you don't look at food the same way again. You don't think of farmers the same way again. I think if corporate engagement is not looked at as something to make employees feel good together, but also think of what is the lasting impression you would like to leave in this individual. And incidentally, he's in a corporate. What's the benefit of a corporate? That you can do this together with a lot of people. Otherwise, all of us as citizens should go through these immersive exercises, right? Because the problem with Mumbai also, we are all stuffed together in a limited geography, but we are all in limited spaces, isolated. Your experience of Mumbai will be extremely contextual to where you're living. As a kid from Baikla, I have a very different experience. Someone who's sitting in Dharavi has a very different experience. Cuff Parade has a different experience. Borivali has a different experience. So, whether it rains and you're happy or you're sad depends on where you're sitting. So to broad brush it and say that, Mumbai ki barish bahut achhi hoti hai. No, it depends on which house you're sitting in. No, and how dreadful or how exciting it is for you to receive. So I think I think I'm digressing from the corporate question, but what I meant is corporate engagement or not has to be about how we as citizens need to immerse in the larger life of Mumbai, and not because we are belonging to a corporate group or not.
Anyways, we must do what we must do. It's not like because you're in the corporate, you should do it. And corporate aggregates numbers, so to that extent, it's perhaps convenient to reach them, but you have to do what you have to do. Basically, that's what I'm hearing. How about the Sarkar, like Samaj Sarkar Bazaar? And we've spoken about the bazaar, we've spoken about Samaj. What about Sarkar? How do you see the administration here? What's your sense of your attempts to engage in the government? How have they been?
So, of course, Maharashtra and especially Mumbai, it's the financial capital. We have access to the Mantralaya. We have, we have governments that have over time not really ditched the city of sorts. There is a different kind of politics of Maharashtra, like there is a different kind of politics of any other state in this country. And there are areas of improvement. And there are things that we are doing right. Like right now, there is this whole Mumbai beautification project that has started. For some time you may think, why are we spending money and effort on beautifying? But it's important. At least some part of Mumbai has to look like it should have been looking anyways, so that we can replicate. I would say if the Sarkar is doing this, the samaj has to then contribute and say, all right, if this street can look like this, why can't mine? So can I go and access my corporator? Can I get some funds released? Can I get my my housing society to participate? So what I'm saying is this, the state as well as civil society together make the city. And the Sarkar will be good if the samaj is holding the Sarkar to accountability. Otherwise, the Sarkar can do what it is and be satisfied with it. So your Sarkar is as good as the Samaj is, and the Samaj, so we have a responsibility there. And of course, Mumbai is if it's progressed so far, there's a lot of things that have been done right? But as the Samaj, what are we going to do now to pick up the pieces from here and say, all right, what can we support the government on and what can we question them on? And both are very, very important. We fail on accountability, I think.
A bit into the samaj, into the civil society, what ingredients are missing? Like, are there what's not present yet that would allow the next level of the movement of citizens to be built, or that would allow us to step up how much we hold governments accountable? Like, any ingredients that you feel are missing or less of?
No, if one thing has actively shifted is that the city is becoming homogeneous in parts. We have the affluent segment, we have the slum segment, and like I said, everybody's experiences of the city are different. If you saw COVID, some areas were completely isolated. There was great curfew, there was no violence, nothing. Some places there was difficult to contain people. Some places there were migrants. So the experiences are much, much different. What I said in the beginning is what I'll repeat. If we can step out of our homes and think of our societies or our locations or our clusters and then our city, that ingredient, I find that it's lesser than a city like Mumbai deserves. And I'm speaking more from a civic engagement piece only. I'm not even talking about the government. The government will do what it does, but where are we as individuals participating or talking to each other or going out beyond our residential societies? What is it that we're doing out? So I think that is the ingredient that needs to be strengthened. When an election happens, the BMC election happens, how many of us are showing up to vote? It has one of the lowest voter turnouts. Why does it have the lowest voter turnouts? We think we only have the responsibility of selecting the central government. We don't think, whereas actually the most power we have is on our local government, right? The corporator is our agent. So why don't enough of us even feel the need to ensure that the corporator is right and we are engaging with them? I think that for me is a very, very prime concern for the city. And if we we can get this together, a lot of issues start just getting questioned.
From there, a lot of leverage can happen once people start showing up. And on the point of elections, I think one shared concern is the postponement of elections. Our local elections are constantly getting postponed, but there's also a lot of hope. Mumbai First, which I want to also acknowledge as one of the partners of this, it's an advocacy initiative that's trying to make the city a better place to work, to live, to invest in. And if you have any ideas that involve Samaj Sarkar Bazaar, please drop a mail to info@Mumbai First. That's my first plugin. And my second plugin is Blue Ribbon Movement. This is young people who will give you hope. They're doing citizen audits, coming up with games, ward manifestos, everything in the run-up to the elections and in general with civic problem solving through community. So if you'd like to support, please also check on the movement. And of course, by Live and EdelGive for having that one as well. So Naghma, so this is good. I think I'd like to move to visions for the city, right? So assuming these things start coming together, if you evoke the dreamer in you, what are your dreams for the city? What would you like to see happen?
I really hope for a very smooth public transport system. Okay. While I love the sea-link, and yes, maybe after it's all done, the extra roads and the highways and the sea-facing roads and all of that will look very pretty. But I think we who are sitting in cabs and cars are barely 10% of this population, and the rest of it is really out in buses and trains. And if you ask me, I feel that if we have a public transport system that could force me to drop my car and really take that metro or train, we'd have such a relief on the roads. We'd have people being able to reach and exit in time. A lot of our time, wherever we are, whoever we are, is spent in different vehicles, trying to get to doing our jobs. So the business of living life is is exhausting because logistics are tough. So I would say a good public transport is something that would again bring a lot of much relief to people who don't have access to private transport mechanisms. And yes, Uber has made it easy and cabs, but I mean, we are talking about those of us who can pay for it. But there's a large population that walks because it doesn't have buses and doesn't even take autos because it costs. So I think we deserve to do better for them. Public transport is my number one, and the second, which I feel is just better housing. That would again the fact that 52% of our population is in slums. What can we do for them, about them? I've said it again and again. We cannot carry the burden of those we leave behind on our backs for too long. A city that's hosting some of the richest folks in the world and has some of the costliest rentals in the world also houses 52% of the people who are in slums. And something about this is very illogical, doesn't sit right. Illogical not because it doesn't happen. I think enough cities have very rich people who are served by the very poor. So yes, there is a different kind of sense in that, but this percentage is too big. And if they are there, then how are we making their homes better? How are we giving them access to public facilities? How are we thinking about them? It's important to reduce that disparity between those of us who have everything and those of us who don't.
I'm curious. Thanks for sharing that. I'm in full agreement with that. I think throughout your sharing, I'm hearing the thread of Antoday. You're constantly evoking the most underprivileged, and I fully resonate. I think what I'm curious about also, as coming from a bank, and a bank also does its own work, I'm sure, on financial inclusion and so on. Inequality as an issue, right? As we saying that we are in the city of opportunities, and so let's let people go for opportunities. Everybody has opportunities. But like one of my arguments with my dad tends to be on saying that they're just not working hard enough, and I kind of come back saying that it would be hard to work hard if you have rats in the house running around and so on. So curious about where do you stand on this in solidarity with, like when we talk about Antoday and solidarity with those who are not as privileged. Do you see inequality as an issue? Do you see the state having to step in to do these things? Or do you see Mumbai as a land of opportunities? I'm just curious, how do you see this challenge?
So whether Mumbai is a land of opportunities or not depends on whether you have access to opportunities. Where there are being able to access an opportunity is a privilege. And being able to come to a point where that opportunity can be accessed, there's a series of things that have happened, right? The fact that I went to a convent school is because my parents made that choice for me. The fact that I did my CS, someone who was a chartered accountant or who was wiser than me gave me counsel. Even if I limit it to these two sets of privileges that I have, I had nothing to do with it. And there are so many people who are not advised, who don't even have for example, why are many of the young people, whether they're living in slums or are underprivileged, even paying those hefty fees of private school and private colleges to be able to be graduates? Because somewhere they have internalized that being a graduate gives you a better shot at a job, only to end up being a graduate and realize your job is paying you lesser than your father is getting by doing manual labor the whole day. And that to realize that after 15 years of investment, okay, then if you're sitting in Dharavi in Mumbai, is not making you feel like it's a land of opportunity. It's a land of opportunity if you've been given that those leg ups. How are we? So are we doing enough to do the leg ups? Are we giving? See, knowledge is your biggest barrier to everything. The biggest poverty is knowledge poverty. Are we making knowledge accessible? Are we saying that there are vocations that can be pursued? I'm just taking this example forward.
Sure.
Vocations that can be pursued, that you can pursue for a lucrative financial life and not complete your graduation. This kind of, so we have an information block for those who don't have access. So I do agree that Mumbai is a place of opportunity. There is no other city in this country, I think, where women can work the way they can work, where ideas are formed, where people are so, like I said, driven, on fire to be able to do, next mandate, next project. There is a drive that you find is not there, and therefore it accommodates everyone who has that drive. You have drive, but how do you know which door to knock? That is something I don't think we allow for everyone to see. And it depends on where you are. So Mumbai is a place where you do need to know which door to knock. And some people who figure it out make it, and it becomes the land of their opportunity. And the others are still figuring out what went wrong.
That's quite elegantly put. Yes, which door to knock itself, and the privilege of having some choices made for us, I think. How do we make this a better playing field for us? Naghma, I know you're doing a lot through the foundation. I was just curious, which part of your work are you most proud about? Like, which part of, there's so much happening, and I'm sure you're making so much happen as well. Any particular dimension, any particular target segment, or anything that gives you most pride in this?
If I see the final output, there are two pieces that have been life changing and make me very proud. One is that the background that I came from, like I said, where you are, even though we were from humble background, I had a very protective, very, very like a humble elite background, where I really thought life was very, very beautiful for everyone. This sector showed me that I was 4 kilometers away from M Ward, where every possible, social evil has been played out and people are facing it, and I didn't even know. So that shock, that I could be here for 35 years and not know, and then say that no, we need to do advocacy with our fellow humans. And if there is a channel, then regular people have to know what is happening. Knowledge is everything. We have been so my work in that kind of awareness generation, where I'm able to access those groups that need to know that this is happening, or what are the realities that play out in terms of inequality and otherwise. So the collaborative work becomes very important. Being able to advocate to those in power with resources becomes so that's something that's very close to my heart. because I don't think what I can do, what you do, or what someone in Calcutta is doing, or someone in Oro is doing. But yes, I can influence the peer set that I'm able to access, and that is great. Second is the collaborative format, where there's 6 collaboratives now that run through EdelGive: education, gender, climate, ecosystem, and now Grow, which is funding 100 NGOs. And the whole when philanthropy had happened to me, or the sector happened to me, the whole premise that the problems are so large, and how can we be funding one NGO, 5 children, 2 schools? It's too small to make any kind of dent. So my whole effort and EdelGive's entire work for the last few years has been on how to create structures where many people can come together and maybe fund something, or many people can come together and solve something. And that is a very, very, even when it was working, it is work in progress, but even in the initial stages, to be able to think about it was exciting. And as it's playing out and Grow is launched, it's a huge high that yes, there is. And I think this is where things should start moving, and more people should come together and do stuff.
What about bringing people together, Naghma? Is that an easy one? Is that something that has been tough across the sector? Just curious how, when you align people around problems, how's
Yeah.
that been? Has that been, does it need a charismatic leader? Does it need a cause? Just curious about collaboration. Also in the context of the city, right, that we need to keep collaborating. So just curious about your experience about collaboration.
So yes, if you see at the end result, you'll see, yes, maybe a charismatic leader, maybe fiery speeches, maybe content, and maybe pictures, and all the tools we talk about. But I've realized in a collaboration, there's actually just one real thing. Like Abhishek, if you're talking to me, why are you talking to me? Or if somebody's clued on, why are they listening to me? It is because you think these 15 minutes or this 1 hour is of value to you. So everything begins and ends with value, and which has nothing to do with funds or enormity or how big the problem or small the problem. If you are choosing to step out and even have tea at one corner, you will have tea at that one corner because that feeling is valuable to you. So when we think of collaborations, when we think of bringing people together, the first question is, why should they come? And it cannot be because we love Mumbai. People come because they think they can see or do or feel something about it, right? At least in the beginning. And then the love comes, and then you feel that, yeah, there's a shot, and then participation begins. But to bring people together, first you have to wonder why they should even come. And why should they spend their time on this? And that's where it all begins. I don't think enough, and honestly, there's no other real formula. Creating value, then creating structures when people can engage with each other. Yeah. And the third is to continue that engagement. I think there are just 3 simple steps. There are many ways to do it, but if you really see, it's just that the why should they be here? How should they engage, and how should they keep engaging? And that's the end of it all.
Entrepreneurial, like when you talk about value, it suddenly makes me realize that this is entrepreneurship in a social context where you're still thinking value, you're still thinking structures.
Why is it? So this is my other pet peeve. Why do we think that social context is a different context? Social context is, why should this be you are saying that I think everybody says it. This is entrepreneurial, or this is a business jargon, or this is a different. But I think one of the biggest disservice we do to development / philanthropy / this is, we think in terms of roses and pinks and reds and dan and daya and up itne mahan ho, the mahanta, the greatness. No, this is responsibility. This is basic duty. You are, something, 10 things have happened to make me who I am. And where is my 10 things I'm doing for others? This is quid pro quo, and value is everything that we do has to have value. So engaging with people has to have value. Engaging in work has to have value. Otherwise, what is the point? So value is intrinsic to anything we do, and it should be.
Acknowledge it freely, fully as well. This is an audience question, and I'm going to try and figure out. You shared that accountability is lacking from citizens to make the city the dream city, but Mumbai is also the busiest city. How do you think we can enable this? How could it be done? So, yeah.
So one is, if there was one solution to all of this, then Mumbai would have been fine. Like it's already a good city. Let's not diss everything about it. It's a very good city. We all are here as active participants, active citizens here because we love this place and whatever. And it's the culture that holds us together. But if we say, all right, how do we do our bit? I would say start from where you are. God knows that's enough of problem. Whether you want to think about start with the neighborhood. 5 young people over a weekend just going for 2 hours and seeing what is the neighborhood looking like. What are the problems we can identify. The number of high rises there are, if they adopted the next slum and said, all right, we will take care of, forget money. Even if somebody goes and counsels children on their career, imagine we don't even need funds for that. We're talking about a collective movement that, a collective movement of young people go and counsel other young people to say, all right, if this is what happens if you choose science, this is what happens if you choose commerce. It's so start where you are, because otherwise it will never happen. If we look at the biggest problem and we plan on how do we go from being a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 10 working individual to attack the biggest problem that Mumbai has, nothing will happen. So I would suggest start from where we are and what we can solve for. And collectivization comes later. First individual contribution and then collective contribution. And if there's already collective work, go and join it. But how many of us have access to collective work? So start alone. You will find your tribesmen and tribeswomen around, and then it matures. But at least the beginning has to be, all right, am I curious? Am I looking?
Where I am. I'm just going to chip in one, though it's not a question to me, but this busiest phrase, especially with young people, is something we've discovered is only effortless. Because with young people in Blue Ribbon, they do deep volunteering. They volunteer like 5 to 15 hours a week, and good managerial quality volunteering at no other area, no stipend. And these are just young people who choose to walk away from Netflix and say we do Blue Ribbon. I just feel the busiest word is also a little tricky. There are lots of people who just are not managing time well, perhaps, or especially with young people, I can say that for sure. There is space.
No, all of that. Do we want it hard enough? Do you really want it bad enough? And then,
you want a city bad enough. True. And comes back to value, right? I'm guessing do you see value in contributing to your neighborhood?
See, it's very important, right? You're creating the value. Your volunteers are participating. Okay. If they came to you and in Blue Ribbon, if they found that at the end of it they don't get what they want or feel what they want, they'd not be volunteering 15-20 years. It speaks volumes of what you're doing. So it's a very balanced thing. There have to be enough of us as anchors of providing value, and there have to be an engaged citizen who wants to come and and squeeze it out of us, and demand more.
And I'm sure, I think the structures part stays with me, because not only is it necessary to create value, but structures that sustain. And how do we make that accessible? And we hope we create a citizen action plan coming with the elections, which answers the question that what should I do beyond voting? Like we're trying to see if we can do something there to let citizens know this is all that you could do. So let's hope some of that happens.
Can I tell you an anecdote, which is when Trump and Biden, the election was completely heated up. I was speaking to some of my friends there, and they had formed a citizens group in their lane, and their whole thing was to diagnose what are the problems of that lane and then that city, and then to create awareness. And their mission was to defeat Trump. All right. But once Trump was defeated and Biden was elected, they didn't dissolve. What they decided is that they're not going to let Biden become a Trump. So what they're doing since then to now, I know because I've spoken to them even recently, is hold their local governments accountable. And so they all came together under distress that they wanted a certain kind of leader, but they're continuing because they want the leader to be in check. I thought that was the most beautiful thing I've heard in recent times, that even if we love who's elected, we have to be holding him or her accountable. Otherwise, there's no point.
Work never ends. We have to be at it. I'm going to take a few minutes to switch to a little bit of a coffee with Karan mode, Naghma, to test the Mumbaikar within you. Is
Okay.
that fine? Can we do a few quick pop-up questions?
Yes.
Let's start with a free evening in Mumbai. Where would you love to spend your free evening in Mumbai?
I would love Nariman Point.
And why Narendran Park?
Because I have childhood memories. There used to be Chinese trucks there, where very affordable, extremely exquisite Chinese, the best in the city, would be available when I was young. And on the rare occasions where we would eat out, my folks would take me and my sister there. So 9 o'clock would dinner, and then up till 11 was playing, under the sea. So I have beautiful memories of that place. That's why.
So this is what they were on Marine Drive or on the NCPA
No,
area?
right
Or?
at the end, the NCPA. Right, Amran.
Okay,
There used to be these
there
trucks
used to
that
be.
were modified, very simple Chinese food. But I have not tasted that kind again. It was very sad that they went.
Oh, okay, that sounds good. So on that note, apart from that Chinese food that you ate as a child, any favorite food that you would name in Mumbai, any locality, any try dash at dash?
So it's Ramzan going on, so you have to go to Muhammad Ali Road and eat the iftar there. That is outstanding. Some of the stuff that is cooked in these 30 days, I don't think is available after. So
Okay, so
yeah, so
time to
it's
go now.
very yes, it's very Ramzan thing. I love the food that's in Matunga, the Madras Cafe,
The
the
South
Ramat.
Indian food.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
South Indian is amazing. South Indian vegetarian food. The food out of Muhammad Ali Road, and Chinese, I think. Yes.
Chinese where?
Chinese in Nariman Point was my favorite, but I like the smaller joints on Chinese rather than the big hotels. So it's right now. I prefer any place that gives good Chinese. So I don't have one good hotel, but I do like
But
Chinese.
yeah, Chinese is very good. How about anything you dread in Mumbai, like a junction or a signal, or I don't know, anything that evokes dread in you? Like, I do not like to.
I don't. I think you're frozen. No, I don't dread anything about the city. I'm too comfortable here. There's no dread. Even traffic jams are. I love driving, so I love getting. I mean, as long as I'm driving, I'm okay with the traffic jam also. So that doesn't
So
bother
there
me.
is no. Okay, so you're zen about the traffic jams and
Yeah.
Great.
I plan a lot while monsoons. So if you're in the wrong place in Mumbai in monsoon, it's a nightmare. So streets. I do plan my travel a little bit in there, but monsoon and being stuck in a car in the rain is probably the worst.
But if you could live anywhere in Mumbai, irrespective of any budget constraints, which locality would you choose to live in?
Oh, I have two, three. One is at Bandra village, in those
Pali
homes.
village, like that Bandra West area? Or?
Yes. The small, beautiful homes that are untouched, that are gorgeous. That would be actually my favorite place. And the other is, I don't think he will allow me, but the governor's bungalow has the best view in the city. I don't think he'll allow me there, but yes, it's got the best view in the city. That's a good place.
Residence, and that's a good residential address to have. Maybe a chai with the governor might be a good evening view around that.
But the best place to live is if there are any cottages still left, which is why I like Bandra. The cottages of Mumbai, I would like that. Yeah.
One wish for Mumbaikars. One wish that you'd like to make for every Mumbaikar.
That we really come together. I think the city deserves us to be better.
So we come together.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So on that beautiful intent that maybe all come together. Naghma is 45 wishes and on the clock. So just hoping that more people come together, and the way you're bringing collaborations, maybe more collaborations happen, particularly around social causes. I think it's a great reason to come together. Challenges we are facing. So thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for bringing this, and thank you for being at this conversation.
No, thank you for having me here. This is beautiful. The facilitation, the access, and this conversation. I didn't realize 45 minutes were up. So thank you.
Thanks a lot. So I'm just going to request you to stay there, and going to thank our audience for this series. We shall be back with some more interesting stuff for sure. After we have a sense of how this series was received. We'll keep hearing from Mumbai First, BRM, hopefully Mumbai Live, Citizen Matters as well. We'll keep working together. So thanks a lot. And we shall see you again.